Welcome to a journey
of profound discovery.
Calibrate yourself with us.
Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erika de la Vega, and here we are in Calibrate Yourself with Alejandra Llamas and Pepe Bandera. So welcome, guys.
Hi guys, Ale, how are you? Erika, it's nice to work with you. I'm very happy to do this in English for the first time. It's kind of challenging.
It is, but it's fun. I think that being a beginner in something, it's always a challenge, but it's also inspiring for other people that maybe they're trying to do new things and they're not going to be perfect at doing them. And I think just setting the example of doing it and doing it with love and doing it with spontaneity opens a lot of possibilities. So that's the thing, but the value of what we're doing today.
Well, you know, Alejandra Llamas, she's a mind that is elevated. So that's why she's telling you that this is a perfect time to start a new thing. And she has this awareness of the first time. But I don't know you, Pepe, but I'm not so elevated as Alejandra. I want to be, and I'm here because I want to learn from her and from you, of course. But I'm feeling very, very vulnerable. I don't want people to see my mistakes, and maybe it's of course, all of this on my mind, but still there's something inside me that pushed me towards the possibility to do a new thing. So that's why I'm here, because if I don't have that kind of pushing inside me, I will be far away from this computer.
I think this is exciting for all of us. And yes, I think Ali is also very elevated. We've worked together for many years now. But let me tell you what, I'm not elevated at all whatsoever, except when I'm bloated, which happens often. But what I try to do is when we are ever on a show in Spanish, it's like Ali talks the elevated part and I try to ground it. And it's helped me throughout the years. And I believe that it's helped me so I can help others. And we'll just do a chain, which I think is the objective today. So, and you know what? I'm also a little nervous about doing this in English, but let's jump with both feet. Let's see how it goes.
Exactly. Yes. And I think that's inspires, just doing things that we all have succeeded in a way, doing podcast and TV and radio in our own language, and bringing the knowledge that they think is valuable in these conversations to another culture is interesting, because the world is turning global. And when you only concentrate on your own culture, you're leaving out other cultures, way of thoughts, worldviews that are valuable. And so people that speak other languages can benefit to open themselves to other types of knowledge. So I think that's something that we're adding to the American culture, a new worldview, which is, it's not better, but it's different, and it adds, everything adds.
And we're going to be, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. No, but you know what, Alejandra, I don't know if this happened to you before, or you have felt it or thought about this, but a lot of people, when you start working in other language that is not your language, maybe the people of your country or the ones who know you as I don't know, Venezuelan public figure, I don't know, when they hear you speaking English, it's like, why you are speaking English? For people to accept the change, and people, when I say people, I'm included, it's difficult. But when you want to change and when you want to start doing new things, you found the resistance in the people that are near you. So I realized that, or I believe that in the past, I believed that I was not being truthful for my audience. But I have changed my mind, of course, and I am feeling that it's okay to try new things. And we are in the United States. Pepe, where are you?
I'm in Mexico City.
You are in Mexico City,
Yeah.
but you are a gringo when
No,
you
I'm not.
speak English. you speak so fast. You mastered the language. But the thing is that we are in the United States, and we can, what's the problem speaking English? That's the language of this country.
There's
And
nothing wrong.
And you know what? I think it's very important to show other people that even if we're Latin or if we're Hindu or if we're Arab or wherever we are, we can add to a culture. We can contribute with our knowledge to everyone else, because this knowledge is for our consciousness, and consciousness doesn't have a language, doesn't have a nationality, and this is what we are aiming to call forth the consciousness of everyone, and that's who we're going to be speaking to through our podcasts.
Which I find to be very interesting, because the way I see it is we're just broadening our horizons, and we're taking a leap of faith into something different. And I think that's the value of it, just doing something different. People may not agree with it. People may agree with it, but that's their problem or their acceptance of what's happening or not. But we're doing it because we want to do it and we feel good doing it. And if it's helped us in our language, why don't we give it a shot in another language? Maybe we can help out and help ourselves with a different way of hearing it.
Yeah, and breaking boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can get the example when Latin people contribute with changing the flavors of the food. I think this is exactly the same. We're adding some flavor in the conversation.
That's true.
And you know, I love that analogy. So we're going to call this a fusion. Like if it was an interesting and completely different, a new plate.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to be speaking about emotions today, Ale. And I know you have a run through some reading before we sat down. And what are we going to do today? What are we going to talk about with our emotions?
Well, I thought this was a great theme for today, because globally we're going through the coronavirus, and there's a lot of people that haven't been focused throughout their lives in learning how to deal with emotions. I've been learning and doing that for most of my life. So we're going to talk about that today, because I think that we could go through some interesting points that we can share with the audience and give them some pinpoints of how we can manage our emotions through all these months that we're going to be see them very closely, and know how we can benefit, not trying to channel or to avoid or to suppress our emotions, but really knowing how to surpass an emotional state, to tap into that inner peace that is always available for us. So this is what we want to go through with you today.
I think that we're all going through a phase all over the world where we need to sit back and look inside, which is interesting because a lot of us, at least I consider myself like that, I'm always rushing. And then you never really stop and think about your emotions. So if I don't want to say we're going to be stuck at home, I want to say we're going to be safe at home. So why don't we do some digging into ourselves to deal with our emotions? Erika, I have a question for you.
Oh my God.
How many times a day, or how often do you think about the emotion that's going through you? When you're mad, do you ever think about being mad? Or when you're happy, do you ever acknowledge the fact that you're happy, or acknowledge the fact that something is happening, or right now, collective fear?
Pepe, you know what? I think, now that you're asking, I think that I'm judging my emotions every time. That's why, yes, I feel them. I let them go, but I'm judging every time why I'm feeling this, why I am so sad, or why I'm so happy. My problem is that I always asking why I am feeling this. And that's important because I started to meditate. Please, I'm a beginner, but I started to meditate. And one of the things that in meditation say is that you have to stop judging the images and your thoughts. And it's so difficult to me to stop judging myself. So that's my problem. That's my struggle nowadays with my emotions.
Ale, but I think it's a good thing that she questions her emotions. How should we go into this? You tell us.
Okay, first of all, I think it's important to set the ground by knowing that emotions are only energy in movement.
Okay.
And we use emotion either to connect to what's going through, what's showing up, or to disconnect.
Okay.
Okay, so the emotion is what we feel as true of something. If something was not connected to an emotion, it wouldn't have any meaning for us.
So let's just set examples so it's easier for everybody and for us to understand. Let's say, okay, we're thinking about the coronavirus right now.
Yeah.
I feel scared about the future. The emotion is I am afraid because of the upcoming uncertainty. What do I do about that, or how do I analyze my emotion?
Okay, so this is a very good setting. The emotion will show up, and you can either give it meaning or not. But the emotion is going to show up because it's only human. So we're all going to experience emotions, and some of us are just going to observe the emotion, knowing that this is a natural condition of being human, of having a body. But once we add to that emotion a thought or a belief, then we go into the loop, because we don't question the belief and we don't question the thought. We take it as an absolute truth. Like,
Okay.
the future is going to be uncertain. And how would that make you feel? Just that thought.
I think that the clue is to have skills to manage that emotion. I always said when things started to happen in life, when you are 40 years old or something
More.
like that,
Mhm.
and yeah, or maybe you're younger or not, but when big moments, important moments starting to happen in your life, you lost a member of your family, or you stop working in the corporation you have been there for 20 years, you have to have skills to manage the emotions. That's what I think. And if you don't have them, how can you overcome the situation, Ali? And that's my question, because I have the emotion, but I need skills to control them, so I have the control, not the emotions having control on me.
Okay, that's a very logical way to embrace emotions through the ego point of view, because the ego will tell you you need to control everything, the job, and the emotions, or not having a job, or the future. So the first thing we have to know is that, let's say that you got fired from your work, and a rain of thoughts are going to come, of beliefs that are going to put you on survival mode. These thoughts and beliefs are going to start to create the emotional turbulence inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the emotions linked to beliefs and thoughts. They are going to the future, to a moment that does not exist. So what we're learning right now, that the only freedom is in the present moment. Because if you're going through an emotional turmoil, I know your mind is in the future.
So let's put it this way. Let's go back to the example I gave. I'm thinking about what's happening right now. I am in my house. I cannot go to work. I am the owner of a restaurant, and my restaurant is closed. I'm not producing. And my emotion is one, uncertainty, and the other one is fear. So if I let that emotion sink in, it's because I'm thinking that I'm going to lose it all. I'm going to be poor. I'll be out on the street. I won't be able to feed my family or anything. And what you're saying, Ale, is that if I think about this moment only, right now, what is happening to me at this exact moment, I'm sitting at home, probably reading a book or watching a movie. I'm not dying of hunger outside. That's what you're trying to tell us.
Okay, I think, and we can divide it in like 3 steps.
All right.
The first step is writing down what you're saying to yourself, either beliefs or thoughts.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So write down the inner narrative. because that inner narrative, it's going to be connected with the emotions, and the emotions are going to be the glue that make that narrative true inside of you, which is not true, but that's how you're experiencing it. So the second step is accept the emotions. You won't transform anything you are trying to control.
Okay.
Acceptance is important in this second step. And the third step is knowing that if you could let these thoughts and these beliefs and these emotions to work through you and release them, what you will find all the time is inner peace. Inner peace is never gone. It's always there.
So that will be with our objective in any case scenario. So we write down what we're feeling. Okay, right now I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling uncertain. I will lose all my money. I'm afraid, for example, I'm going to set an example which is really logical right now. I am afraid not of getting sick with the virus, but getting sick and complicated and going to a hospital, and the hospital will not have the intensive care unit for me because everything is packed.
Okay, but you're assuming again.
Okay, yeah,
so
exactly.
You are in the present moment, using the present moment to torture yourself
over something that's not happening yet.
It
might not happen.
It might not happen. So
Right.
we use the future, the mental future. That's how the ego works. It uses the mental future to take you away of the present moment, because that way the ego is ruling you. It's ruling your inner dialogue. It's ruling your emotions. It has the front seat of your life.
I see. I understand.
Okay.
I like it.
So remember that the outside stimulus, whatever is happening, has no meaning at all. Has no meaning at all. So we can observe our emotional intelligence as we create a gap between our circumstances and our relationship to them. We can either respond by choosing who do I want to be in this situation, or we are just reacting with old patterns, thoughts, and of beliefs that are projecting a future that is not happening.
Ali, but we have to be aware of ourselves and our thoughts in each minute of the day so we can separate the ego and our real emotions. We have to be like in constant observation.
Exactly. So, but being in constant observation is allowing. I'll observe that whatever arises, I will allow. So let's say that you're sitting into a meditation. Don't sit to meditate to control the mind or to suppress emotions. Sit to meditate to allow a chatty mind and strong emotions. And observe it. So create this inner observer that in yoga they call Purusha, that can observe the being going through the emotional turbulence or through the chatty mind, knowing that this is natural, that, I can observe how my mind today is very chatty, and I'm okay with that. But if you're trying to meditate or do anything in order to silence the mind or to put yourself in a silence mode, and that's not happening, you're going into control again.
I agree. And you know what, Erika, I'm going to relate to you a little story that happened to me when I first started out with this. And it'll be fun if you hear the first podcast we have way back then. It seems so difficult when you view it from the outside. It looks like I'm not going to be able to do it. It's just an uphill situation, and I'm never going to do this because I like partying and I can't control my mind. It's not about it. And suddenly it just happens. It just happens. It just flows into you. But once you become aware, and here I'm not talking I'm elevated or anything, I'm completely opposite to that, but it just happens. It's just, I think that the key word here is acceptance and openness.
I know, because emotions are meant to be embraced. It's what makes you feel alive. And the emotions are not really an issue per se. The issue arises when we give these emotions meaning. Because this is how we sustain an emotion for a long time, because we connect the emotion to the thought patterns. And then we think we cannot release the emotion, but we're not releasing it. It's the story, it's the narrative, it's the thought of the future. We give power to that narrative that is bringing the emotion in us.
And how we can break the beliefs, Ale?
Well, what it's interesting is that knowing that we have inherited a lot of beliefs from our culture, our religion, our past, either also our family members. Yeah. So I think that's a good question, because we either live by what our beliefs tell us, that for many of us, these beliefs have become very outdated. They're not functional anymore. Or we can start practicing to connect to the present moment through our wisdom, through our heart, and there's knowledge there. So for many of us, the practice is stepping a little bit back to whatever is arising in the present moment, and knowing that we can relate to that through our inner knowledge, through our inner wisdom, and not bringing meaning to this, knowing that there's a higher order in everything, and suspending the judgments. This is very humbling. The ego hates this, because then he's out of the picture. When you decide to let life live through you, when you're in presence, when you go by the words, I don't know what this means, I don't know if I shouldn't be feeling this, I don't know if this is for the good of all of us, but I live in a friendly universe, so I'm just going to surrender to this. Then it becomes a life where you observe how you have everything you need to cope and to embrace whatever appears.
I like that. So what you're saying is that we all have it in us. This inner peace already lives in us, but the thing is, we're rushing so fast. We're always running. We do not take a chance or the time to look inside us and find it.
Exactly. So this is just a remembering mode. We are remembering that whatever we were searching, or we were trying to control, or we were trying to suppress, is by letting go, by releasing, by accepting, we'll remember, we will touch the inner peace as what's always there for us, available in that silence.
If we have the inner peace, if we have it inside us, mine can hide very well.
I think for all of us, because we have been trained to control, to live in anxiety, to live in guilt, because we have constructed a social belief system that fear is the norm. So how you are relating to yourself and to life is the norm. That I have spent 20 years like undoing myself, unlearning, not adding things, just letting go, releasing, touch that inner peace. It's more of unlearning of surrender.
Learning. It's more unlearning than learning.
Exactly. It's not adding something.
It's taking things away.
What do you need to take away of your thoughts, of your beliefs, of your control, in order for that inner peace to shine through you?
Yeah, maybe because we don't let our intuition to lead our path. Mm-hmm. We always asking what to do to our family or our husbands, or you call it, and we don't hear ourselves. We don't do what our heart is saying to us. Sometimes, I'm not saying it's all the time.
Uh-huh.
But I think that sometimes what are you saying, Ale, that we have it inside and we have the inner peace that makes me realize that this sounds like when your intuition guide you
Uh-huh.
making decisions that are good for you, but maybe you don't give the credit, you are not giving you the credit that you need in that moment to hear yourself, hear your heart, and follow it.
Exactly. So you're coming into your life from a completely different view when you're coming from intuition, from wisdom. And this is very new for many of us.
And it sounds so difficult, but the way I view it is let's look at, I always say to patients and everybody else, just look at nature. What happens in nature? Let's say I'm a zebra in Africa in the savannah. I'm just grazing my grass. I'm very happy. And suddenly a lion comes along and tries to eat me, because that's the way things work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that moment, I become very scared, but I run off and I outran the lion. What happens 10 minutes after? I'm back to being my happy zebra moment, whatever. And they're not in constant fear all the time. They live their life. And when they require to act upon a feeling, which is fear, because they are in danger of being eaten,
Uh-huh.
that's when they react. But the rest of the time, they're just happily living.
Yeah, they bounce back to that inner presence and peace naturally.
Because they don't know better. They probably don't have this brain like we have that doesn't leave us alone for a second. It's just question all the
because
time.
they don't attach meaning.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't attach what, Ale?
Meaning. They
Oh,
attach meaning. So
there's a
what
difference.
happens when we attach meaning to something? What happens? We observe that suffering arises through the meaning, because we do this because meaning creates interpretation, and interpretation simulates control.
I like it. Well, I hate to be the party pooper, but guess what, guys?
We're almost done. Okay,
We're almost done.
I just wanted to close with something that I know it's going to blow your mind.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
We were asking a lot of questions, and I think that we tend to do that as seekers. And there's a very profound teaching that the ego can't grasp,
which is
that there are no answers for your illusionary fears. There are no answers. Answers are what the ego feeds on. And this idea serves the need we have assumed as a collective and as individuals by inviting the notion that we have to look for something, or we have to achieve something, or we have to become special or evolved or superior. And this is not real. We're only humans. I'm not even evolved. I've just released myself from beliefs, and I've touched an innocence that we all have. So we're all the same. And the answer to whatever thing that arises is the present moment.
So this, we can round it up saying this very well-known few words, present moment awareness.
Exactly, because we become seeker of pleasure and we try to live avoiding pain. So that becomes an inner game that is distortioned. That's how most of us lived. We seek pleasure and we avoid pain, and that happens to our emotionals. But if we release the meaning of this is pain and this is pleasure, and we let emotions arise and just be grateful because emotions are the connection to life, then you can surrender completely to the present moment, and there is your answer in the present moment. Your answer is always in the now moment, in the practice of forgiveness, in the awareness that the peace lies beyond any perceptual illusions. And the fear, the psychological fear, is always an illusion. It's never going to be real.
Okay, I like this. Well,
I like this idea too. Like this idea to live without tags.
Exactly. So practice that. If a strong emotion comes up, just ask yourself, what thoughts or what beliefs am I attaching to this emotion? If an emotion comes, sadness, frustration, fear, let it be. Let it go work through you, through your system. It'll eventually release. It's not going to stay there forever. Don't be afraid of emotions. They cannot destroy you. Just be grateful for them. Allow them. And as you allow them, you transform.
Good. I like that. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. This has been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're learning. We're learning a lot. We're learning English and we're learning how to be conscious.
Exactly. So maybe next week we can talk about more of the point of view of forgiveness from way of detaching meaning. Forgiveness as not as the ego point of view, but more of a state of consciousness.
All right. So we'll talk about forgiveness as being conscious next time. Okay. Well, guys, we have some homework for next week.
Let's practice.
Okay. I send you hugs and kisses.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye,
you for
Ale.
listening
Thank
to us.
you.
Bye-bye.
Wait, we didn't say something. We forgot to mention that there is a mastermind behind this. Is Maddie behind the controls. Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us today.